a deeper meaning and resonance for us. And maybe we're kind of looking right now in the wrong direction.
Okay, but that still is again assuming that there's somehow a separateness between nature and us. But if we see ourselves as a part of nature, right, we emerged from this biosphere, then anything that we do, wouldn't that still be nature as well? Because I guess that's the part of it. Wouldn't those bots, wouldn't those artificially engineered virtual worlds, aren't those worlds of the imagination? Aren't those things that there's a cognitive philosopher.
It's so funny watching some people nod and some people shake their heads.
No, but I guess it's like I think
Curtis Kelly would just say one thing. I mean, I would say that language is an instrument for making distinctions, and ultimately there aren't separate objects at all. There's just one flow of experience and event. So we do make a distinction between nature and culture. This guy Murray Bookchin talks about, you could talk about first nature and second nature. Like in first nature being the nature that's like the mountains and the forest, and second nature being the cultural products, Olestra and Botox and all this stuff that we can't seem to stop making. So I think we do have to make some kind of distinction. So in that sense, we then have to think about, once again, whether these projections of our technological fantasies are really healthy and nourishing and point towards a future for humanity that's going to be the most deeply satisfying and amazing thing that it could be.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, maybe this has to do with where I'm coming from, but when I read Kurzweil's book, it didn't seem like all about the profit motive, and it seemed more about, he said the most amazing phenomenon in the universe is intelligence. He said intelligence is the most powerful force in the universe. It can eventually transcend its own substrates. There's no reason why it has to remain biological. It can transcend its own biological origins. What matters is the pattern of information, the pattern of complexity. It doesn't matter where it's housed. And so it's seen through that lens, through that metaphor. Okay, so information, sentience, minds, non-biological minds, minds that instead of sprouting in and out of existence and disappearing forever, minds that can perpetuate themselves into infinity, to engineer our own godhood, so to speak. And to me, that was connected to the idea
the godhood.
Yeah. No, but I don't know why this resonates so much.
How many people here want to be immortal? How many people think they already are?
Yeah, well, I would love to believe that. I really would, honestly. I read Ernest Becker's book. It was from 1974. You probably read The Denial of Death.
I know the title,
yeah.
And I have a vague sense, like a resonance of what it is, but I haven't actually read the book.
So just imagine Woody Allen's philosophy of life. That's pretty much it. In the movie Annie Hall, that's the book that he gives Annie Hall. He's like, you need to read this to understand where I'm coming from. I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve it by not dying. But basically in that book, the psychologist Ernest Becker he distilled the human condition in a way that was very different from the whole Freudian thing about sexual repression and whatnot, or id, ego, superego, I forget it. The human condition is defined by the fact that we're the species that is aware of its own mortality, and that this death sentence is looming over us from the moment that we become aware of ourselves enough, we become aware of the fact that we are temporary, we are impermanent, we are these fleeting beings. And so to witness our own decay, basically he says with our minds, we can ponder the infinite, yet we're housed in these heart-pumping, breath-gasping, decaying bodies. So we're godly, yet creaturely. He says we're gods with anuses, basically. And the conundrum of that, to be a creature that can dream, that can contemplate infinity, that can love infinitely, that can weep and be moved and write poetry and watch Shakespeare, watch a Shakespeare play, to at the same time be doomed to be food for worms, I think it's a contradiction that I have difficulty wrapping my head around, particularly as somebody who loves very deeply, who loves my family, who loves the people in my life. That thought of them not existing is horrific. And I'm the first to say that when I see these technological tools as a means for humanity to transcend its own limitations, I'm reminded of the words of Alan Harrington. He says, we must never forget we are cosmic revolutionaries, not stooges conscripted to advance a natural order that kills everyone. So, nature may be beautiful, but nature still kills everyone. And maybe it's our job to say we will not go quietly into that good night, but we will rage against the dying of the light. And so there's a little bit of that where I'm coming from as well. I know that's probably very
Yeah, so I have a different perspective about all this stuff. Yeah.
I want us to be able to talk forever, dude. Sit at the edge of like new galaxies and contemplate that.
So yeah, so I mean, well, first of all, I mean, my perspective is that you know, I have a kind of esoteric or occult perspective that comes from doing all the shamanic work and, you know, dream experiences, lucid dream experiences, psychedelic experiences, DMT, ayahuasca, and so on. I mean, I think that there's, you know, when you have those types of experiences repeatedly, you're given kind of experiential confirmation that there is a vast psychocosmos out there. You know? And what we're now kind of, you know, experiencing, participating in is just, you know, it's what we need to be experiencing and participating at this point. But there's you know, there's a much deeper and greater story of you know, and obviously, like, you know, how did each of us get into our individual body? You know, why is, you know, is he looking at me from over there and him from over there? You know, it might be that, you know, if everything is based on a type of cause and effect in the universe, that there is some type of reincarnation or karma, you know, and all these types of things. There's, you know, obviously some very good evidence from it in the Tibetan Buddhist traditions. There's also a book by this guy Ian Stevenson, have you heard of it, called Reincarnation and Biology Intersect? So he spent, like, you know, his whole career going around the world and finding, you know, these children who had spontaneous recall of their past lives. And often, in some cases, the kids would have like a birthmark, like a significant birthmark, like a mark on their neck or something. And they would remember, I had this family, you know, in Agra, you know, and so they would go back and they would find the actual family. And in some cases, they would even find photos of the person who died, or dig up the corpse. They find that maybe they've been, you know, killed by a blow to the neck or a stab wound to the neck or something. So he assembled enough of these cases to make an argument that you could you know, make a good argument for reincarnation being a fact. You know, so now even having said that, so I personally I accept that that's, you know, probably what happens. You know, it probably happens in a more complex form than you know, just like a narrow, you know, soul to body. You know, but you know, looking very deeply into the thinkers like